Hey guys, it's Nina. Today I'm going to be bringing you my February wrap-up and my March TBR. And just as a side note, I'm feeling a little under the weather right now, so if my voice sounds weird or if I'm just like not very high energy today, that's why. The first book that I completed in February was Magnus Chase and the Gods of Asgard, The Hammer of Thor, which is the second book in the Magnus Chase series by Rick Riordan. That's always such a mouthful. This book was absolutely fantastic. I loved it. I gave it a 5 out of 5 stars. I really enjoyed the first book in this series, but this one was even better, definitely like by a lot. I think the main reason why I like this one better is because I now know all the characters, I'm invested in the story. The plot was also better than the first one, but I think it's mainly the characters and just like feeling attached to them and getting to know them better. And of course, you can't really talk about the characters in these books without talking about the diversity of them because they're so freaking diverse. And I love it. In this book especially, we're introduced to a new character and their name is Alex Fierro, and Alex identifies as gender fluid, which basically means that depending on the day, he or she will identify as a male or a female depending on what they think is right for that day. That was really interesting for me to read about because I've never met or read about anyone who is gender fluid, so that is something that was completely new to me. Like, I've heard about it before, but I'm much more familiar with like transgender people because I feel like that's talked about a lot more than gender fluidity, and I just think it was handled so well in this. Mainly because there wasn't a lot of info dumping, because I think that could have been a path that Rick Riordan went down, like here's 2 or 3 pages explaining everything you need to know about gender fluidity and how Alex identifies and how you should call him or her, etc. But instead Rick Riordan ends up using Magnus as a character to pretty much be us and ask Alex all the questions that we would have wanted to ask Alex ourselves. So instead of like this huge info dump of information, you get this really organic like conversation that gets splattered throughout the entire story of 2 friends discussing how one of them happens to identify and like the other one trying to understand it. And it just was done so organically that I really loved it because it's something that I could really picture real friends doing, and that just made it so immersive and real and not info dumpy, and I loved it. And I'm pretty sure this book won an award for its representation of Alex, and it's so good. I love it. And just a friendly reminder that Alex is not the only diverse character. We also have a deaf character, a Muslim character, and a character who used to be homeless. So this book is just winning the diversity game right now. But of course, that's not the only good thing about this book. Like, it definitely enhances it and makes it so much better. But the plot, again, was amazing. I still love the Norse mythology and how Rick Riordan weaves that all in. That's something that he's an absolute pro at. And the plot was really engaging. I didn't see where it was going. I was really invested, and it was just all around amazing. And probably one of Rick Riordan's best books, dare I say it, but I just was blown away. I loved it. The next book that I read this month is something that I'm really excited to talk about, and that is Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone by J.K. Rowling. Now, most of you probably know this, but not all of you. I have never read the Harry Potter series, like ever. Yeah, I know, you're all dying right now. But this was actually my second time reading this particular book, because when I was in middle school I did pick up the first book and I read it, but I just wasn't feeling it. I didn't love it, so I never actually continued with the rest of the Harry Potter series. But that being said, I was raised on Harry Potter. I've seen the movies, I know the stories very well. I feel like it's an immense part of like popular culture. So I'm going to be slowly working my way through the Harry Potter series for the next few months, very slowly, because I have other things on my radar and I don't want to get too overwhelmed. But yeah, this is kind of like a, hey, this is finally happening. I'm actually going to be reading the Harry Potter series. But for this particular book, I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars. I really enjoyed it. I listened to it as an audiobook, and the narrator for these books, I'm sure most of you are aware, is amazing. And it was really weird reading this because it was so nostalgic for me, even though I haven't read this series before, but it's still part of my childhood. So like, I know all the characters and I feel attached to them, but this was like my first reintroduction to them and like official meeting, so that was really cool. My entire time reading this, I was basically comparing it to the movie in my head, or at least how I remembered the movie, and once I finished the book I was like, oh my god, the movie was so close. That was like completely the same thing. But then I rewatched the movie and they actually cut out a lot and like shortened and streamlined a lot of things that like I didn't even notice when I was reading the book. Like, for example, there would be a scene with like the Weasley twins or Neville that's in the book that's not in the movie, but I'm so used to the characters from the movies that like I could picture that scene verbatim in my head, so I'm like, oh, of course it's in the movies, because it feels familiar, but it didn't actually happen and I didn't actually have those memories. I don't know, it was really weird. But it was just a really great experience, and I'm looking forward to reading the rest because this is definitely the one that I'm the most familiar with, because although I've seen like the maybe first 4 movies, I haven't even seen all of them. So as I progress through this series, it'll be more and more into uncharted territory, although I know like big spoilers, like I know how this series ends and where certain characters end up, but I don't know the in-between stuff. So I'm really excited to finally dive into this world and like read a book, watch the movie, read a book, watch the movie. It's gonna be really interesting. And the last book that I finished this month was Caraval by Stephanie Garber. This was our Bibliosquad book pick of the month for the month of February, and we actually have our live show coming up at the end of this week on Saturday, which is the 3rd of March, and it's going to be 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on G Swizzle's channel. I will leave all of that information down below, of course. And this book I had like mixed feelings about. I give it a 3.5 out of 5 stars. It took me a long time to get into this book. Like I was just not feeling it towards the beginning. I don't know, the world didn't grab me, and I just wasn't feeling that much for the characters. It wasn't that I didn't like them, but I found them kind of tropey and kind of flat. Like for example, the character of Julian in this is like your typical brooding bad boy, and like he didn't have much about him that was different from any other brooding bad boy, if you know what I mean. It's like he's that character in this book. But as I read more of this, I started getting more sucked into it, and by the end I was definitely fully invested. The finale or last act of this book was really engaging, really plot twisty, and I really liked the finale. Like that's why I feel like I really like this book, because I just finished this like 2 hours ago, so the ending is like fresh in my memory and that was my favorite part. But then I'm thinking back on the beginning, I'm like, oh, I didn't really like that part, so I don't really know how I feel about this book. But a synopsis would be nice. So this book is about Caraval, which is basically this traveling event. I don't want to call it a circus or a carnival because I was thinking of it as a circus, so I was picturing like this big circus tent and then like small magical things going on, but instead it's more like a whole town that shows up at your town. It's hard to explain, but it's this like event that happens and you have to be invited, and there's magical elements and it's kind of dark and sinister undertones there. And we follow this pair of sisters where one of them gets kidnapped as a part of the game and the other sister has to find her. And I really liked the theme of it following 2 sisters and being about them and their relationship, but at the same time I feel like it wasn't as present in the book as I wanted it to be, because one of the sisters is missing for like 70% of this book. So it's not really about them, it's really about one of the sisters. But like I still liked it. This is just a really conflicted review. I'm sorry. I think I just need more time to sort out my thoughts on this book, but our live show is soon, so you should all join us and then maybe I'll have my thoughts straightened out by then. But yes. So in terms of my TBR for March, there are 2 books that I know I'm definitely going to read, and then I have a couple other books that like I want to get to because March has my spring break in it, so I'm hoping I'll be able to get a lot of reading done. The first book that I'm going to get to, which would be no surprise, is Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets, I believe is the second one. Just moving along in that series, and I hope to get to like maybe one a month or so. I don't know, we'll see how this progression goes, and then once summer hits it'll probably be Harry Potter mania. But yeah, I've definitely got to get to at least the second one next month. And then the other book that I'm definitely going to be getting to in March is Empress of a Thousand Skies by Rhoda Belleza. I hope I pronounced that right. And that is our Bibliosquad book pick of the month for the month of March. As per usual, I'm not the best with synopsises, but I know it's set in space. It follows these 2 people, and like one of them gets accused of murdering someone close to the other one, and one of them is a princess or an empress or something, and it's set in space. I don't know, the description sounded really good, and I'm not sure when our live show will be for this, but I'll leave it on screen or down below once we have decided on that date. So those are the 2 books that I know I'm gonna read next month, and then I have a few other ones that I may or may not get to because I'm me. The first one, which I really hope I get to next month, is Wires and Nerves by Marissa Meyer. This is basically a continuation of the Lunar Chronicles, but it's following Aiko, and it's basically about the events afterwards, and she's like stopping renegade wolf people or something like that. I don't know. It's a graphic novel following Aiko, and like that's all I need to know. And the Lunar Chronicles is one of my favorite series ever, so I'm like, I need to get to this next month. It's so pumped. Another book that I have that I could potentially read next month is Double Sin and Other Short Stories by Agatha Christie. I basically went to a used bookstore and I saw this and I was like, hey, it's short stories. Maybe I'll be more likely to actually read another Agatha Christie book if it's short stories, because then I can like read one, wait a few days, read another one. So we'll see. The whole thing is like under 200 pages, so I'm hoping I will be able to fly through this at some point this month. We'll see. And the last book that I hope to get to next month is City of Saints and Thieves by Natalie C. Anderson, and this book is a relatively new release. It came out in the last month or so, I want to say, and this follows a girl who is from the Congo originally, but she's a refugee in Kenya now, and it's her and her mom in this new city, and then her mom gets like kidnapped or murdered or something like that, and it's just like a thriller set in Kenya with a girl from the Congo, and I'm so there for it. That just seems like such a cool setting for a thriller or a mystery or whatever this is, and I'm just all about it. So I really want to get to this next month, but we'll see. And that is it. Those are all the books that I read in February and plan to read in March. Let me know down below what you guys have read recently. Give this video a thumbs up if you liked it, and subscribe. And that is it. I will see you guys later with another video soon. Bye!